Hi, this is Comet Troy, coming to you from Linden Camp, which is located about 5 minutes southeast of Linden, Tennessee. I am here on site recording the first video of hopefully many in a series of the actual construction of Linden Camp. In today's video, we're going to cover how it all began. We're going to cover how I found out about the property in Linden, how I came down here. I'm going to cover the actual purchase process I went through, some of the feelings I was feeling at the time, going out looking at the land, and finally signing on the dotted line, buying the property, and then after the fact, meeting with the mayor of Linden. I'm going to talk about that, which was kind of a fun thing. And then after talking with the mayor, I ended up buying a second property. So we're going to talk about that as well. And then finally, I'm going to answer the question of the day. The number one question I get when we talk about this property from people is, Troy, what'd they get per acre down there? So I'm going to finish off today's video. I'm going to tell you exactly what I paid for each of these properties. It's all public record anyway. I mean, you can go look it up. It's no secret. I'm just saving you the time and effort to go look it up yourself, and I'll just tell you what I paid for it. So with that, let's get right into it. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the history and show some of the high areas. I mean, show the property from a higher altitude from the drone. So it's pretty interesting. Now this land here in Middle Tennessee is rich with hardwoods. Middle Tennessee is known for its vast acreage of hardwoods. When there was a company that came in, I'm not sure if it was a lumber company, a paper company, a furniture company, but whatever, they needed a lot of wood. So they owned all this land for years. And they came in and they harvested all of the hardwoods off of the ridges, the flat parts where we can build on our sites. And the hollers, as they call them, which if you've seen my day 2 video, you'll have heard about hollers. And I'm showing a video right now of what a holler looks like here on the property. It's the valleys in between the ridges. And if I go up higher and look at a bird's eye view of all my neighbors and all the property, you can really see the ridges from the hollers real easily. I think it's really neat. The green areas are the top of the ridges where the company who used to own the land took all the hardwoods off and then planted LobLolly trees, LobLolly pines, which is a fast-growing pine that companies use to replenish their wood source in a very quick fashion. So my land is mostly LobLollies around here, and I did a little bit of research too, and I found out that over 50% of our nation's pine trees are these LobLolly trees, which I've never even heard of before I bought this property. So they came in, got rid of all the hardwoods, and then they planted all these LobLollies in place of it. So that's why when you look at my lot and the surrounding lots, you can see the ridges and the hollers pretty easily. So what the developer did is they came in and they bought, now this is the rumor I heard, I don't know how accurate this is, but they bought initially 1,500 acres from this company to subdivide it and sell it as RV campsites, ranging in size from 5 acres up to 160, 170, 200 acres, whatever. So you could come in here and buy a lot. And it was pretty interesting how they did the lots. They sectioned them up by the hollers. So if you look, the hollers are the valleys again. So that's pretty much where our lot lines are. And if you look at my property. Here's a picture of it from above, and we are looking from the south is at the bottom of this picture. The north is to the top, and my property, I call it a south finger and a north finger. The southern finger is the little thumb that points to the left, and then up on top is the north finger. And that's 35 acres of property there. And if you trace the outside of this, that's my 35 acres. Now there's only probably 8 to 10 acres that are flat enough to build. So 25 acres of it is a moat, if you will. There's no water in it, but it's a good barrier between your neighbors. You can't see a neighbor. You can probably hear them if you yell loud enough, but there's a lot of separation between the properties out here, which I really like. So the developer came in, and they're like, okay, well, this is where we can strategically and logically divide up these lots. And then, okay, now how big is it? Okay, well, it's a 35 acre one, and that one's a 10 acre one, and that one's a 21 acre one. So they plotted out, I think it was 43 acres for this first phase 1. And then they had their first sale. And it was pretty interesting the way they do the sale. Normally when you buy real estate, let's start with a seller. You need someone selling real estate first. If you are selling real estate, you would typically contact a realtor. The realtor would come out and give you an assessment, a market analysis they call it, to see what they could sell your property for, and then you decide what you want to sell it for, and then you advertise it, market it, and then people come in at their leisure and check it out and write an offer, not write an offer, and then there's this whole negotiation process that goes back and forth. The way that the developer did it wasn't that way at all. They had a one-day sale on October 30th, which I came down for. I was actually in Wisconsin before that. I was heading down south to get away from the snow, and this came up on my news feed. It's like, oh, RV land, Middle Tennessee, RVer's dream. No requirements of building. The only thing you can't do is you can't put a single or a double wide on it. It has to be an RV or a house or a cabin kind of a thing. I'm like, cool, okay. I normally probably wouldn't go to that, but it's on my way, and it's about the time I'm heading south, so why not? Why not stop in there? I'm not going to buy anything. Come on. It doesn't work that way. I'm just going to go out and just start searching for some land. It's something I always wanted to do, is have some land I can park my RV on and camp on. And I'm like, I'll go take a look. So I get down here, and I show up for the sale, and it was interesting of how it went. So they had multiple groups that they'd send out, a 10 o'clock group, 11 o'clock group, a 12 o'clock group, and there was probably 20 to 30 people in each group that were prospective buyers of these properties. So then they would pair you up with a real estate agent or a salesperson, or I'm not really sure what their licenses are, but they would pair them up with one of their salespeople, we'll just call them. And you'd get in a golf cart or their car, and they would take you around and show you these sites. And there was no bidding involved. It was a no haggle type of deal. So if all the prices were out there. So, this lot is $89,000. This lot is $119,000. This lot is $149,000. And here's another one that's $89,000. Oh, here's one for $69,000. It was all based upon acreage and views and all that stuff. So we all go out, and I was in the 12 o'clock group. So 2 groups had gone before me, and they already got to pick the prime properties that they wanted. So I had to wait to the 12 o'clock group. which was fine, and I wasn't planning on buying anyway, right? So, bring me on the 1 o'clock or the 2 o'clock. I just want to just start kicking some tires. So I get out at 12 o'clock, and I'm driving around with my person, and they have these two-way radios, and it's psychological on you. It totally is. We're driving around. It's like, well, which one do I want? And you'd pull up to a lot, and there'd be other people there looking at the lot, and there's only one lot there that you both are looking at. It's like, well, who's going to go flip the sign over first? Because the sign had your lot number on one side and then sold on the other side. So if you wanted a lot, all you had to do is tell your agent, and they would radio it in, and then you would go and flip your sign over to sold, and they would take a picture of you, and you'd celebrate and high five and all that. I'm like, cool. There's no haggling, no negotiation, no dickering, which can be a good thing and a bad thing. I mean, there's pluses and minuses to it. It worked out for me. I didn't really have a problem with it. So that's the format. So I'm driving around with my agent or my salesperson, we're going to call him, and all of a sudden I'm hearing on the radio, lot 12 sold. I'm like, okay, well, I guess, all right. So someone bought 12, and we're also driving by all the other lots that have already sold because their signs have been flipped around since sold. So it's like, oh my God, they've already sold like a dozen lots in just 2 hours. And there's only 43 lots total in this first phase. So what is going on here? And then lot 6 is sold. I'm like, lot 3 is sold. Lot 1 is sold. Lot 15 is sold. Lot 18 is sold. And I'm like, oh my God, what's going on here? I'm like, I better give me one of these because obviously they're a hot commodity.
Oh, that looks good, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think that made it worse.
It did make it worse. Gross.
At least now you can tell me if you hit something.
You don't need to clean yours. Oh, this is much better. Look how good we can see.
So I think I kind of surprised my sales agent because we finally got to one after we looked through a bunch, and I'm like, I'll take it. And she kind of looked at me and she's like, you will? I'm like, yeah, let's do it. I got to get a lot before they're all all taken. So that was my experience of buying this lot. So we drive back to where we launched from, back at the community center, and now it's time to actually sign the paperwork and give an earnest money down payment and read the fine print and all that. So I put my real estate hat on. I'm a licensed realtor in the state of Wisconsin, not in Tennessee. So it doesn't really do me much good in Tennessee other than just the knowledge I have from real estate in Wisconsin. So I put my real estate hat on, and I'm like, all right. So it didn't work very well. It's like the format of the sale is kind of a take it or leave it kind of a deal. If you don't want it, then fine. We'll let you out of it, and we'll just sell it to the next person. I'm like, and that even made me think more. It's like, well, okay, I guess these guys have a lot of confidence that they're going to sell these to someone else. So everyone else is buying them. They're confident they're going to sell them, which I heard on the radio, like 12 of them get sold within the 45 minutes I was driving around. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'm just going to, put some blind faith in the operation here. And it helped a lot to know that they had been in business for, I think it was 35 years. Don't quote me on that. So they had a reputation to protect. If they were out screwing people around and people out of their money, then they wouldn't be in business very long. So I put a lot of blind faith in going forward and giving them the check and signing the paperwork. I went back to my hotel. Actually, I think I was in my RV then. I went back to the RV and went and got some sleep, and I woke up the next morning. I'm like, oh my God, what did I just do? Did I just make like the hugest mistake in the world? This isn't how due diligence is supposed to work. We're supposed to have inspections. We're supposed to have perk tests. We're supposed to have, wells drilled and guaranteed and sites buildable, and none of that was part of the transaction, which made me very nervous. I was looking at possibly losing my earnest money by backing out of the deal, and so that was a very scary experience for me. Nervous, anxiety. And what actually brought it home for me is I decided to go into City Hall and just ask around, ask some questions and check it out. That was one of the things that they offered me to do during the sale on the day on October 30th. Was they're like, well, here's the mayor's number. Call the mayor. I know it's Saturday, but he'll more than likely answer. I'm like, okay, good idea. I'll call the mayor. All right, so phone rings and rings and rings and rings and rings, and the mayor doesn't answer. I'm like, okay. That happened, the day before, which also, caused some nervousness and, what did I do kind of a thing. So I actually go to the mayor's office. I go to City Hall, not to speak to the mayor per se, but I go in there and I walk in, and there's two administrative assistants sitting behind a desk that had recently installed, COVID plexiglass. I'm sure, before the pandemic that it was all open in there and you could just have, a good face-to-face conversation. But I walk in, I said, hey, I just bought some land out here and I want to build a campground. I got 35 acres. And I just want to come in here and just check with City Hall and, cross all my T's, dot my I's, and make sure I have all the proper permits and all the inspections that I need and, whatnot, setbacks, building codes, the typical stuff you get when you're in real estate. And the one girl, bless her heart, looks at the other one, says, I think he needs to talk to Wess. And the other administrative assistant agrees, and they get on the radio. They're like, Wess, we got one for you. 2 minutes later, Wess comes walking through the door. I assumed it was Wess. A gentleman, quite a bit younger than me from looking at him, and he takes me back into the office, and sure enough, it's Wess Ward, the mayor of Linden. So I go into his office, and we have a chat, and he had a lot of good things to say about the town, which a mayor should, okay? That's, a biased opinion, but he had a plaque sitting on his desk that he had been awarded. Linden had been awarded for having the best water in Tennessee. I'm like, well, that's pretty impressive. And I was surprised to hear that the water comes out of the Buffalo River. And I guess if they wanted an award for the best water, they must do a pretty good job of filtering it and cleaning it and have a pretty good operation there. But I'm all right if they got the best water in Tennessee. Sign me up, right? So I get to my first question, and I say, well, so what kind of permits, inspections, and what do I all need to build a campground? Do I need approval? Do I need zoning approval? What's the zoning? He's like, well, Your septic system needs to be inspected by the state. You need to get a permit for that. And any electrical work, you need to get a permit and some inspection. But other than that, you can do whatever you want. There's no permits, applications, zoning, building codes. There's no setbacks. You can literally do whatever you want with your property. I'm like, I got a big smile. I'm like, cool. Then I got to thinking, I'm like, really? I could do anything I want with my property? Like anything? I doubt it. I mean, I seriously doubt it. I think he was speaking with the realm of a campground. I don't, there's a lot of churches around here. I see like 100 churches and like no bars. There's one bar in the Commodore called the Speakeasy. But that's the only bar around here, and the rest are churches. So I'm thinking that there's probably some restrictions on what you can build out here in this county. Like, would a bar be okay? Can I just start selling liquor and beer? Probably not. Can I open a strip joint? I'm guessing that's probably a big no. What about a nudist park? What about a gun range? I mean, can I put some stages out here and bring some bands in and just crank music? I mean, there's got to be some limits to what you can do out here, and I still need to check into that. That's really, none of that is really in my view of what I want to do with this property. After I met with Mayor Wess, I left and thought about it a couple days, and one of the things he said really struck out at me. He talked about how, people were moving to Tennessee, and it was kind of like, a 2021 gold rush that was going on here in Tennessee, especially in Linden. And that really hit home to me, and I really thought about it. I'm like, you know what? He's kind of right. I'm a complete stranger in this small, tiny town that's got, a few gas stations and a few stores and a couple restaurants. And, I can go to a gas station here, complete stranger, and not have to prepay for my gas. I can pay at the pump like you used to be able to do and go in and pay after the fact. I'm like, I said, Tennessee Land and Lakes, they're doing a bang-up job marketing this. They sold 30 properties or 40 properties in the first day I was here. They're going to have more sales and sell the rest of it. I'm like, I should buy another property. If I already got one, what do I need two for? So I thought, well, I'm going to buy another property and flip it. I'll buy it now and maybe sell it down the road, or I didn't really know what I was going to do with the second property, but I went ahead and bought it with some IRA money. All right, for the big question of the day. Troy, what'd they get per acre down there in Tennessee for your lots? Well, first of all, just let me tell you from putting my real estate hat on here, the price per acre really means nothing. It means nothing really, because the land varies so much. I mean, farmland is pretty easy to price per acre. I mean, you got, obviously, you have different qualities of farmland. You have, good silt loam. You got stuff that's more rocky in elevation. And that also pertains to these lots out here in Linden. Number one, the size of the lot, kind of means less, really. I mean, it does factor in because a larger lot is going to fetch more money. But a lot of it is about the views and, quite frankly, how much is buildable. If you have a 35-acre lot and you only have one section of it that's buildable, an acre or two, that lot might be worth less than a 10-acre lot that has 5 acres of buildable property on it. So price per acre doesn't really mean anything. So to answer the question, better I'm going to share with you what I paid for both these lots. So the 35-acre lot that I'm building the larger campground on, I'm developing first, I paid $200,000 for. And there's about, I estimate about 8 to 10 buildable acres here, and about 25 acres that's on pretty steep slopes. You could, build out into it with, if you, had the back on stilts and maybe put a wraparound patio, and you'd be up in the woods and the trees. And I've actually considered that as part of my plans. So that's what I paid for lot 24. Lot 36 is the lot I bought with my IRA, and that was $140,000 for 21 acres. And I estimate probably 3 to 4 acres of buildable out of that 21 acre parcel. So again, not like bragging or whatever. That's all public information, and you can just go onto the website and look it up yourself. I'm just saving you the time from having to do that search and look it up and see. And it is quite frankly the most often asked question I get from people. So there you go. I know that was a long video. I had a lot of information I wanted to share and catch you all up. And if you're still with me and you like my channel, my videos, subscribe so you can see the other content I create. I'm creating 30 videos for each of the day I'm out here boondocking, off the grid, whatever you want to call it. Click the bell so you get notified when I drop new videos. Like the videos, and then ask any questions in the comments. I really like to read your comments, and I try to reply to every one of them. If I didn't reply to yours, it's not that I don't like you or whatever. I just may have missed it or just haven't gotten to it yet. So just bear with me, and hopefully we'll get to it soon. I'll see you in the next video.